Achieving aesthetics with calisthenics is incredibly simple. It's a very simple process, and it doesn't take, you don't have to be a scholar, an elite scholar, an Einstein, a brainiac to get aesthetic with calisthenics, right? Like I just said, it's a very linear progression, very simple. And really, it's just sticking to your basic core exercises, right? Those compound exercises that are going to get you the most bang for your buck, right? Dips, right? As I'm doing them right here, I'm doing them on rings. You can do them on parallettes. You can do them on a straight bar. If you can't do dips, then just work on getting stronger at push-ups and then transition to dips over time. So when it comes to these compound movements, right, such as pull-ups, chin-ups, dips, right? And then in terms of aesthetics, with aesthetics, for at least males, a lot of aesthetics come from the upper body. So it's the V taper, so the shoulder to waist ratio, right? And these movements are going to build up your aesthetics, right? And you don't have to think that, I don't want to get big and bulky, because most people, they want to have a nice lean physique that looks athletic or that might turn heads, right? They don't want to have like a top one bodybuilder physique, Mr. Olympia physique, right? They all want to look, human, but very nice to look at as a human, right? They don't want to be overweight. They don't want to be too skinny. And the key thing is to increase that shoulder to waist ratio for men, right? To get that V taper. And the way to do that is, of course, building muscles such as your shoulders and your back, which will definitely increase upper body aesthetics, right? So exercises for your shoulders and your back, right? You're gonna have dips, right? Dips are going to work not only just your shoulders, but it's gonna work your triceps and your chest, especially your chest to a major degree. And for some people, they get great tricep gains, right? When you also get bigger arms, that can also add to the look, because in clothes you're gonna fill out your clothing. So doing movements like dips or diamond push-ups are gonna help with some arm development. And also chin-ups, right? When it comes to your back is going to go crazy with chin-ups and pull-ups. Pull-ups are probably like the number one movement for your back, and you really want to focus on that, and you want to make pull-ups a main staple in your routine, right? People will attribute rows, deadlifts, lat pull downs to their progress when it comes to their back, but I feel like every single one of those are inferior compared to pull-ups, right? Now, if you can't do pull-ups off rip, then you can go to a gym and do assisted pull-ups, right? Or you can do pull-ups with a resistance band, or you can try and do bodyweight rows until you can work up to chin-ups, and then you can work up to pull-ups, right? And because the reason why I say chin-ups first is because chin-ups are going to require biceps, and you're going to be a bit more strong in that position, and then you can do pull-ups. And when it comes to, again, another exercise for your shoulders, pike push-ups, right? I just did the pike push-ups off the rings. You can do them off the floor. You can do them off of parallettes, however you want to do them. And when it comes to pike push-ups, they're going to be more of a shoulder exercise, right? And it is a push-up variation, but it's going to work more towards of your shoulders and maybe a bit of your upper chest, but mostly shoulders because you're getting in that overhead position. So it's going to be similar to an overhead press, right? And again, I'm giving you guys these options when it comes to calisthenics is because not many people might have access to a gym or weight equipment. A lot of calisthenics movements are free, or you can find ways to set them up. If you don't have a pull-up bar, you can find something to hang off of to do pull-ups on. If you just want to do any type of push-up variation, you can literally just do push-ups from the ground, right? Any type of push-up variation from the ground, right? And like I said earlier, it's going to be incredibly easy to gain aesthetics, right? And then you might want to throw in some type of isolation exercises, like maybe you want to build up your arms, right? So here I am doing tricep extensions on the gymnastic rings. And this, of course, is going to blow your triceps up, but you don't have to do them on gymnastic rings. You can do them on parallel bars that you might do dips from. And if you're strong enough, you can work up to them maybe. But over time, just simply by working on your pushing strength, you're going to get them there, right? And another aspect to the upper body when it comes to aesthetics is going to be your abs. So here I'm doing sit-ups. I'm doing them off of a bench. So it's like this ghetto setup I had to do. So the bench would have tipped over, but that's besides the point. When it comes to abs are very important when it comes to aesthetics, getting aesthetics right. And of course, sit-ups and leg raises. Leg raises are probably my number one exercise that I do for my core. They're going to build your abs like crazy, right? And especially when you do twisting motions, which is going to get your obliques. So you really want to almost get like that Greek god form, right? You know, those statues, those sculptures. And when you look at those sculptures, you'll notice their six pack, right? You'll notice their abdomen. They have an incredibly like strong, ripped abdomen, which makes the physique tie together, right? So when it comes to aesthetics, you really want to put a focus on shoulders, back, and abs, right? Now you might be thinking, what about the arms? What about the chest? What about the lower body, right? So again, arms, you can get good arm definition just by doing the compound movements that I mentioned earlier, you know, dips, pull-ups, push-ups, chin-ups, and you're going to get good development, especially when you do them in proper form, especially when you switch up different variations, right? You can do close grip chin-ups or wide grip chin-ups, which is going to get biceps in both versions. You can do close grip pull-ups, which is going to get more forearms and more brachioradialis, right? You can also, with dips, just do them in a way to where you might lean back a little bit and then kind of press straight downwards. It might not make sense, but you're going to get more triceps. Or you can do straight bar dips and have like a close grip, almost like you're going to do a diamond push-up, but probably just out a little bit. That'll also get your triceps. And again, with push-ups, right? So there's the tiger push-up, or the quote-unquote tricep extension push-up, where you push off from your elbows, right? But that requires a bit of strength, so you're just going to have to get stronger at different push-up variations. Then, of course, there's diamond push-ups. Of course, when you do diamond push-ups, you have your hands together, and of course, you create a diamond, and then you push up like that. That's going to have a lot of triceps. And one thing, too, is you can do diamond pike push-ups, right? If you've ever heard of a variation like that. But that's going to, of course, require a bit of strength, right? And that's the great thing about calisthenics. You can just use your body weight to progress with so many things, right? And again, variation is very important, right, when it comes to these exercises, right? If you want to target more arms, then of course you can either do more arm-specific work, like, of course, you know, dumbbell curls or tricep extensions or skull crushers, right? But again, if you don't really care to do any isolations, then of course switch up the different variations of your exercises, you know, of your compound lifts, of your compound calisthenics lifts, in order to get a bit more, just a tiny bit more specificity, right? And of course, you want to be training your core with the two exercises that I mentioned, sit-ups and leg raises. But honestly, for me, sit-ups, like, if I could choose one core exercise, it would be sit-ups, right? I've been doing sit-ups since the beginning, and my six-pack looks the way it does. And I really only do sit-ups here and there, or whenever I kind of like have access to the equipment to do so. Now, like I said earlier, you know, when it comes to aesthetics for males, it's mostly upper body focused, right? And I only mentioned really back, shoulders, and I mentioned the abs, right? And then I just went over the arms. And someone might ask, like, hey, what about your legs, man? You can have skinny chicken legs. How are you gonna get aesthetics? What about your legs? Listen, nobody cares, man. Nobody cares about your legs, right? Now, of course, you don't want like little chicken legs and like some like cool looking upper body. You should train your legs. You can just train your legs by simply doing like high rep, you know, high volume training with like a bunch of squats. You can get a back extension machine and set that up in your home gym, or, you know, however. I think mine cost me like $70, and I just use that and I do back extensions on them, which is going to work your posterior chain, such as your glutes and your hamstrings. Then again, there's also a bunch of other calisthenics exercise. There's the Nordic hamstring curl, but that's going to be very hard for a lot of people, so you're going to have to try easier variations. Or if you have gymnastic rings, or if you don't have them, you can invest in them. You can do leg curls, right? And then there's, of course, like hip thrusts. You can do bodyweight hip thrusts. If you don't want to always use body weight, you can take like a resistance band and hip thrust through the resistance band. Then there's doing leg curls on the rings, like I said earlier. And then there's sissy squats, right? If you want to focus on the quads, there's sissy squats. But again, like, you don't have to get your legs like big and bulky in order to be considered aesthetic, right? If you look at a lot of male models, they have like a very defined upper body. But like their legs, it's not like they have like, full wheels and wagon wheels for their legs, right? They're not here trying to get Mr. Olympia physique, right? They're just trying to get a more overall ratioed physique. Even when you look at Greek statues, right? A lot of those Greek warrior statues, they didn't have giant legs. There was the statue of Farnese Hercules, but other than that, most of them didn't have these giant, like, hulking legs, right? A lot of their upper body was very proportioned. And one thing, too, is with the calisthenics, since you're hitting so many muscle groups at the same time with these exercises, right? For one, you burn more calories. And then two, you have a lot of muscles that are going to be growing and working at the same time, right? So your body's kind of going to be sculpting and building evenly without any type of mishaps or any type of imbalances, right? Because some people can have, like, let's say, just an exercise program filled to the brim with like isolation exercises, and they can easily get an imbalance. But when you have like a well-rounded exercise program with maybe some isolation movements but a lot of compound movements, your physique is going to be very like well-rounded. You have a well-rounded program, you're going to have a well-rounded defined physique, right? And another thing too is when it comes to aesthetics, leanness is very important, right? So you want to have your diet dialed in, right? Of course, exercise is a big portion of it, but when it comes to how lean you are, your diet is going to take a role in that, right? So are you eating a lot of processed foods? Are you eating a lot of refined carbs? Are you eating any whole foods at all? How much whole foods are you eating, right? A lot of us think of losing weight and we think of, I have to restrict calories, but you can eat different types of foods that are very nutrition dense, such as like leafy greens, vegetables, beans, right, lentils, potatoes, whatever. So many things, so many whole foods, right, that you can eat. But they'll also like they're just gonna eat the same foods that they've been eating, but they're just gonna decrease calories, right? But you can eat a bunch of like leafy greens and a bunch of vegetables without having to decrease the amount of food that you eat, right? And what's great about that is like you can eat that food and not really get fat from it, right? You can eat like a bunch of spinach and kale. Sure, it might be gross, but if you cook your food right, if you eat a bunch of vegetables and you season it well and you put it in like some type of sauce or something like that, it's gonna taste good and it's not gonna taste whack and it's gonna be very delicious, right? If you stay away from like high calorie, foods that have like almost no nutrition in them, very like fatty, artificially fatty foods, right? Then, you're not going to get any of the proper nutrients, nor are you going to get lean, right? So there could be a case where like maybe if you're skinny, you might want to bulk up a little bit and then you want to lean out. But again, like make sure the foods that you're eating are very healthy, right? Because the healthier you are, honestly, the leaner you are, right? Food shouldn't build up so much fat on your body. It should assist with building muscle, but it shouldn't fatten you up, right? It shouldn't be something that is going to put a lot of, bad, heavy weight on you, right? So again, diet is very important, and I would like to make a video on how I've been eating in my recent diet endeavors, right? So it's going to be very easy staying lean when you eat more whole foods, right? When you eat a lot of plant foods, because again, like I said, they have a bunch of nutrition, but they're not so calorically dense. So you can eat a lot of it, get full, and then not get hungry for that long, right? When the amount of calories that you ate weren't as much, as opposed to when, let's say, when you're eating the standard like chicken, rice, and broccoli, right? You're having white rice, you're having chicken, or maybe even beef, which is going to have like the fats in it. And, those might have its properties for protein or whatever, but like in the long run, how well is it going to do your health, right? So we have to be careful not to just be eating anything, just to be putting whatever we think is going to be best for us in our mouths, right? Just because it has a bunch of calories doesn't mean you should be eating it, especially if you're trying to bulk, right? But again, if you're really trying to achieve aesthetics, being leaner, you don't have to be like sub 10% body fat, just something like even like 13%, 12% body fat is going to be enough. Enough to just show some cuts and some definition, maybe a little bit of striations, right? And that's going to uncover aesthetics, right? It's almost as if maybe you were bulking and then you start cutting. It's like you're chipping away. It's like you're chipping away at like some like stone marble, and now you're revealing the sculpture that you built up, right? But one thing too is when it comes to calisthenics exercises, again, since they require so many muscle groups, even your core, right? Even your legs, when you do push-ups, you're going to burn more calories because more of your body is being worked, right? So you're going to burn, let's say, more calories doing push-ups than you would when you do, let's say, bench press, right? You're going to burn more calories doing pull-ups than, let's say, doing pull downs, right? Because, you know, you're just sitting down. You're sitting down and you're pulling a weight. But when you're doing pull-ups, you're engaging your core, you're engaging your back, right? You're making sure you're coordinated and that you're not flopping around everywhere. So these exercises require a lot more attention, and they require a lot more focus, and they're going to require, of course, a lot more muscle groups. And when it requires a lot more muscle groups, it's going to be more well-rounded, right? It's like you're trying to hit multiple targets, and you take like, I don't know, a gun that can shoot multiple bullets. Maybe we don't have to use a gun in this case, but you know, you're hitting two birds with one stone. That's the case right there. So again, getting aesthetics with calisthenics is not that hard at all. I would like to make it maybe a more in-depth full guide so that way you guys can follow it and it can be easier. But yeah, peace out.